I think that's why I'm so excited, is because I have been blessed to see what it looks like under the goat. And now you're going to the baby goat who's been, all the eyes are on her all around the world. And so it's just kind of a cool experience for everyone.
She's revolutionized our game in the best conceivable way. That's what Sophie Cunningham said about Caitlin Clark in her last interview since joining the Fever. While skeptics and adversaries continue to underestimate Clark's significance, Cunningham's unvarnished evaluation from an experience perspective has great weight. But there's another comment from a New York Post interview that's perhaps more striking. "I've been that feisty player my whole career."
I am joined by Indiana Fever Sophie Cunningham, and I just Indiana Fever Sophie Cunningham. You've been with the Phoenix Mercury for 6 years, now heading over to Indiana for the 2025 season. What does that feel like? How has that transition?
Cunningham isn't just coming to Indiana to shoot threes. She's coming to be the enforcer this young squad urgently needs. For Clark, who's faced unprecedented physical defense, having a partner willing to push back might be the difference between excellent and great. Are you ready to hear more about what Sophie just said? Then remark CC and Sophie down below. Let's go. Did you know the Indiana Fever simply had 5 wins a few years ago, leaving them at the very bottom of the league? That's the hole they're getting out of, and it's deeper than most people believe. Then they followed it up with a disastrous 13-win, 27-loss year, while already holding the 2023 first overall selection Aaliyah Boston at that point. This wasn't simply a hard couple of seasons for the Fever, it was a strong indicator that something fundamental needed to change in Indianapolis.
Well, it is so funny that you even said that, because I'm still, I'm so excited, but I'm still not used to it, just because I've been drafted out here for 6 years. And so a couple weeks ago, I threw on the Indiana jersey for the first time, and everyone's saying I'm a Fever, and so I gotta get used to the new me, which I love. I'm so excited for. I think it's just such a great opportunity. I'm excited to play with the players that are there, play under the coaching staff that's there. And so I think this is just a new and exciting era for me, and everyone that I kind of partner.
Think about what that means for a franchise. At rock bottom, the Fever weren't just losing games. They were losing significance in a league where attention is already hard to come by. Their performance was so disturbing that it became evident to everyone watching that a total roster overhaul wasn't just desirable, but was clearly necessary for survival. Then comes the 2024 draft, and suddenly everything changes. The Fever land the #1 pick, and with it, Caitlin Clark, possibly the most impactful rookie in WNBA history. Overnight, the squad that nobody was following became the team everybody was talking about. But here's when things become difficult. That spotlight generates heat.
I think Indy, those from my year 1 through 3.5. Well, let me just say this. I went through my 7 years in Indy. I have 4 head coaches. So that in itself is kind of no one really knows what an experience of the black stick at the bottom. Trust me, been there. Trust me. So I was, that's really how it started,
The naysayers and skeptics lost no time criticizing anything about this new-look Fever. Would Clark's game translate to the pro level? Could this youthful team actually compete with the powerhouses of the league? The solicitations weren't only coming from random social media personas. They were reasonable issues from basketball commentators who noticed a great child arriving into a setting that nonetheless had huge deficiencies. When the 2024 season started underway, those early missteps further heightened the criticism. The squad felt split at times, unable to achieve harmony. Clark was getting physically dominated in many battles, with other teams presumably taking turns trying to welcome her to the league with heavier contact.
When y'all left, it was still a rebuild stage. So different coaches got hired. And I think that at that point, we was trying to figure out whether I was keep swimming or if I was sink eventually. And I'll be honest, I didn't know what would happen my career. I didn't know how it would turn, because the points were the points, the accolades were accolades, but it wasn't enough.
That team winning. Team, not individual team.
And anybody that wanted to compete and be a winner,
it's about.
The Fever's inadequacies were on clear sight. They lacked tenacity, their shooting was uneven, and most clearly, they had no enforcer, no seasoned presence to stand up when things became violent. What became brutally evident was that talent alone wasn't going to cut it. The Fever requires more than simply skilled players. They needed battle-tested veterans who understood what it takes to win at the highest level.
Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening. And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said. But no printing, Diana Taurasi was right. Kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie. And if you're a WNBA player, if you're any kind of player, you're going to say, I'm going to make a statement.
They needed players who wouldn't shrink under the heavy attention that comes with having a star like Clark on the roster. That's when the front office made their move. In what might go down as one of the most strategic rebuilds in recent WNBA memory, the Fever management responded by assembling a feast of senior talent. Sophie Cunningham, DeWanna Bonner, Sydney Colson, and Natasha Howard. These weren't just any veterans. These were players who had played in championship circumstances, who understood pressure, who could educate the youthful core what winning actually entailed.
You in a position where you can add some pieces?
Yes, we are. We're definitely in a position. And I would think that if you are a smart basketball player and you watch the way she plays, you would want to play with her.
And of all these senior recruits, nobody made a louder arrival than Sophie Cunningham. While the Fever front office organized these actions behind closed doors, none imagined the bombshell Cunningham would drop during her media tour. Most veterans tiptoe around praising rookies, cautious of building them up too early. But Sophie utilized an entirely different strategy that left basketball analysts stunned. In her honest New York Post interview, Cunningham boldly said she was built for this moment.
It's a wonderful fresh start for you, but we look ahead. I kind of want to look back on your experience in Phoenix. Like you said, you were drafted there. You spent the last 6 seasons with the GOAT, Diana Taurasi, who just announced her retirement. What have you learned from her?
Oh man, I think we could sit here for days if we really went into that. But at the end of the day, I think that Dee is one of the best humans I've ever met. She has one of the best hearts. The way she not only thinks about life, but the game is just on a whole nother level.
After years in Phoenix, where it hasn't always been easy, Sophie saw her trade as destiny, a turning point in her career trajectory. I think it's built me for something higher and better, she revealed. And the platform that we're about to be on with the players that I'm about to be with. Her statements rang like a rallying call for the entire organization. What makes Cunningham's words so refreshing is their honesty.
But you went from playing with a true legend of the game to now a rising legend of the game in Caitlin Clark in Indiana. What is it about her? What have you observed about Caitlin Clark now that you're going to be one of her teammates?
Rather of making cookie-cutter statements about taking it one game at a time, she acknowledged the roller coaster nature of professional athletics. And it doesn't mean it's always going to be rainbows and butterflies, she replied, exhibiting tremendous self-awareness. Each season has their stuff. This real voice indicates exactly what she'll contribute to the locker room.
It was exactly what Cunningham needed and got, quote, too comfortable across 6 seasons in Phoenix. Now she tells the New York Post that she's to thrive in the spotlight while playing alongside Fever superstar Caitlin Clark. Quote, I think that since I've been out here in Phoenix, it hasn't always been easy, Cunningham, 28, said while discussing a partnership with Quest Nutrition. There have been a lot of trials. There's been a lot of lessons learned, a lot of experiences that I thought was just like any WNBA team. But I think it's built me. It's made me tougher. It's tested my persistence and my mental quite a bit.
No sugarcoating, just honest talk. The relocation to Indiana came with a touch of irony. During the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game, Sophie had an amusing interaction with Clark. I told her, hey, if you ever want to come to Phoenix, let me know. Cunningham said with a grin, that one kind of backfired on me. The basketball gods had different plans, sending Sophie straight to Indianapolis instead. The most striking component of Cunningham's media trip was her angry support of Clark. She addressed the huge weight on the rookie's shoulders, adding that, a lot of people haven't walked in her footsteps, so it's easy to judge. Sophie's willingness to publicly stand up for Clark sends a strong message. I'm refocused. There's a certain type of sensation and energy about me.
I think it's built for me something bigger and better in the stage that we're about to be on with the players that I'm about to be with. I think I am built for this. So she's telling you she's ready. Did you pick up on I think it's made me tougher? Because look, they're not only going to come after Caitlin Clark, they're going to come after Miss Cunningham too. That is a fact. Unfortunately for her, I have a feeling she's not going to back down from anybody.
Cunningham understands exactly what this Fever squad needs. She demonstrated genuine joy with Indiana's ball-sharing method, tailor-made for both Clark's passing agility and Sophie's sharpshooting talent. She sees the overall picture of what makes this group remarkable. If any players are going to want to join Caitlin Clark, boy, it turned out to be some bogus activity. The basketball connection between Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark isn't merely another veteran rookie partnership. It's a friendship created in the crucible of Diana Taurasi's shadow. After spending 6 seasons beside one of the most scrutinized players in WNBA history, Sophie received a unique vision that most veterans simply don't have. This hard-earned insight of handling the intense glare is just what Clark needs as she faces unparalleled scrutiny following her every step. Cunningham's excellent 40% success percentage from beyond the arc in 2022 brilliantly enhances
Clark's fame put the team under a microscope, which opened the floodgates for scrutiny and constant attention. The Fever increased security when they drafted the Hawkeyes legend. None of that is intimidating to Cunningham. Here we go. And she's already said she's tough. Now we know she's not intimidated. Who's ready to chase a championship with a look Fever? Quote, I think that's why they brought in a lot of veterans who had experience, Cunningham said. And I'm not saying that they have the experience of hundreds of millions of followers watching you, watch every step, but I do feel like they brought an experience of how to gel in the locker room.
Clark's passing ability. Picture this scenario. Clark drives toward the hoop, gaining defensive support. She spots Cunningham stationed in the corner. With a swift flip of the wrist, the ball zips to Sophie, who's left open while defenders seek to contain Clark. Bucket. This exact scenario has previously played out multiple times in preseason action. The spacing Cunningham affords influences the Fever offense. Her threat from three-point range compels opponents to stay close.
I'm refocused. There's a different type of vibe, energy about me, she said. I think I'm always kind of happy, go lucky, go with the flow, and I'm still that. But I'm also ready to dial in and get a championship because that's something I haven't done yet. So I'm going to do anything in power to help the team do that. It's time for me to level up. Very interesting indeed. So she's ready.
Providing passing openings for Clark to find other teammates. A defender who stays connected to Cunningham can't help against Clark's drives, and one who assists leaves a 40% three-point shooter open. A clear advantage for Indiana. Cunningham's love for Indiana's system is particularly noteworthy. She's thrilled about joining a motion-based offense emphasizing ball movement and sharing.
She's ready, joining this squad. And look, remember when Cheryl Stoops and some of the other media was like, I don't know if any players are going to want to join Caitlin Clark. Boy, that turned out to be some fraudulent activity, did it not, by the media?
I'm ready to dial in and get a crown, she asserted, placing championship goals within grasp. This collaboration happens between possessions during timeouts and after painful losses. Sophie's years with Taurasi taught her to manage expectations, filter out distractions, and perform under pressure.
She has that same mindset that Dee has, and I've learned a lot on how to become a pro and how to get to where I want to be with Dee every single day and how she just does things. You know, I was a sponge around her. I saw her habits, her do, her don'ts, and I think when you have someone like Caitlin, she doesn't really need a lot of help, right? Like, she already knows how to play the game. She knows where she wants to be. She has an itch and a willingness to do whatever it takes.
For Clark, facing unprecedented scrutiny, having a veteran who recognizes this specific pressure could determine whether she crumbles or flourishes. Sophie's statement about winning a title wasn't just usual rookie player enthusiasm. It was a calculated judgment based on what Indiana's front staff has meticulously accumulated. When you assess their roster revamp, what once sounded like an absurd promise currently appears like a legitimate model for success.